All right, my name is Bob Gizokas. I'm principal here at the high school. Tonight with me, there's people from the leadership team. Casey Roop, assistant principal and administrator for world languages. Kim Noyes, special ed facilitator. Lisa Jacques, dean of student services. I can't see the lights here. Becca Noe, who's assistant principal and oversees arts and music. Back here is Chris O'Hara, dean of humanities, followed by Martha Pond, dean of STEM, facts, and business, and a parent. All righty. This is the agenda for tonight. I'm going to talk about 5 Mythbusters. There's some misinformation that I just want to correct. I'll explain that in a moment. Then we're going to take you through some subject pathways. They're just really one look at sort of certain subjects with some explanations. Program of studies, we're going to walk you through that because it's newly designed. Course selections and how to actually do it. That's really the purpose of the night. Lisa will come up and talk about that. We'll end with just a couple of reminders and helpful hints and then take questions. Before we start, I just need to know who's out there. It's helpful for us to sort of tailor this a little bit to who's in the audience. So just with a show of hands, parents of 8th graders coming into 9th grade, that will be helpful to know. That's usual, yep. How about parents of current high school students? Yep. And then how about repeat? You've been here before for either group. You've just done this before? Yep. Okay. And if you've done this before, you know you're here probably because you know things change a little bit over the years. I talked to one family whose daughter graduated in probably 2011, and it's definitely a different process now than it was then. Okay, Mythbusters. So first off, you've seen some surveys I've pushed out to people, or at least the high school parents have. 8th grade parents, you saw something I asked about pathways with Tom Liberty, the assistant superintendent. We've been talking to parents a little bit, and I've been listening, and even just in everyday experiences. And there's some things I've heard, there's some inaccuracies and beliefs out in the community about sort of what's happening here, and I just want to clarify those, just so everyone is on the same page and you have the right information. So the first one, I'm going to talk about this question. On the Common App, when you apply for college, there's a box that asks the question, has this student taken the most rigorous course of study available? And our school counselors see that, and they're the ones who check it. Our school counselors check that box whenever a student has taken any combination of honors, then AP and IB as they go up into the grades. Okay? That box gets checked in any of those combinations if you've taken honors, AP, and IB. This is the myth. The myth is only students taking the IB diploma get that box checked. I've heard that over and over and over, and it's just not true. And I need you to leave this room knowing it's not true. It's sort of that hard course of study, and that is any mix of those honors level classes, then IB and AP. That's when the counselor checks that box. Second one, both AP and AP and IB are good for students because they serve different purposes. I've also heard that we need to pick one, just do one. But that is not how it should be. They serve very different purposes. AP are college courses taught in the high school, okay? IB courses are high school courses that prepare you for college. They're both very high level, but they serve different purposes. If you came to Tuesday's night about AP and IB, you heard those differences. But I just need you to know I need them both here. I don't want to choose. Some students need the AP experience, some need the IB, and some need both, honestly. They're good for kids, and they're good for the building. So that's the myth, that I need to choose, but I don't, and we shouldn't. Next one, because approximately 93% of our seniors apply to college, and over 91% typically go, a primary goal in this building is to prepare students for college, and as mentioned earlier, that's the purpose of IB. IB are high school courses that get you ready for college. We have 37 IB courses, and currently 689 students are in at least one IB class. Some of them take more. Our curriculum is vertically aligned from 12th grade right down to 9th grade, so that a student in 9th grade that is in PSP level, honors level, it doesn't matter, they're being taught to think and given the skill set so that when they get to junior year, if they want to, they can step into an IB class. So we design on purpose our curriculum and skills so that kids can move into those high-level classes when they get passionate about something or whenever they're ready to. Here's the myth that IB only serves the IB diploma students. IB diploma is just one pathway. You know, I think maybe 13% of each graduating class goes for the IB diploma. And as I said Tuesday night, And John was here, and I said, John, this is heresy. He's the IB and AP coordinator. I don't need the IB diploma to even exist, quite honestly. IB, I need to exist because it gets kids ready for college, and we have a lot that go there, so it's something I have to do in this building. But the myth is that those IB courses are just for the diploma kids, and that's just not true. They're for everybody. Last one. IB classes are the 11th and 12th grade honors level classes by design. I was here 13 years ago, maybe, when we opened the school, and we had lots of discussions about levels and what it would look like here, and we knew that IB, let me show you the graph, would become the honors level class in 11th and 12th grade. It's just what we do at 9th and 10th, really just transitions. It got a new name, but it's really the same sort of high-level stuff that's happening at 11th and 12th grade. So the myth is we need this level between honors and then IB, but that's not true. IB is the honors level. It's just not called honors. It's called IB. We didn't need a whole bunch of names. By design, that's how it's designed. So if you've been taking honors classes as a 9th and 10th grader, you'll be able to easily sort of slide into IB classes in 11th and 12th. All right, those are the myths. All right, subject pathways. I'm going to turn it over, and we're going to go through pathways in that order. These folks are going to talk about some of the classes because, like Dorothy, there's choices to be made, and we're just trying to inform you about those choices because you can go this way, you can go that way, and these guys are going to take you through. Yep, you can't go, well, no. We're going to start with humanities, and Chris O'Hara is going to walk you through that.
Hi. So this is an overview, what you're seeing here. I'm going to back up a little bit so I can see it and not have my back to everybody. So this is an overview of all 4 grades, and then I'm going to talk more specifically about the choices that incoming freshmen, thank you, that the rising freshmen will take. So those of you who are 8th grade parents, what you'll actually choose. So the top level here, and this is going to be true of the pathways that you see, we all have them coming up. The top level is freshman, and then the orange goes down to American Dream, that is sophomore year. Junior year will be Global Studies, or IB English, IB History, which again alludes to what Bob just said about honors. And then senior year, English and Social Studies electives are available for any students who aren't in the IB track. We also have students as seniors that are in the IB track. They take IB English and History 1 junior year. They go on to IB senior year, and they also pick up electives. Because students need 4 credits of English, 3 credits of Social Studies, and then once they hit all of the other areas, there are still 6.5 credits worth of electives. They need to hit 24 credits overall, and a lot of those will get picked up in humanities. So for rising freshmen, you're going to choose 2 classes that are required of all freshmen. One is going to be a writing class, which I'll get to in a few minutes, and the other one is called Roots of Thought. Our humanities courses, for those of you who don't know, English and Social Studies in 9th, 10th, and 11th grade are team-taught classes. So students will be in one class. It meets every day, and it will be team-taught between an English and a Social Studies teacher. So they will be in the room with 2 teachers every day, and at the end of the year, that one class called Roots of Thought is a 2-credit course. So they're picking up both an English and a Social Studies credit. So the difference in these 2 levels, PSP is our post-secondary prep. Those are college prep classes. All of these classes are designed really to get students to college, and they will get the skills they need because, as Bob said, 91% of them typically are going on to college. So they're going to get the skills they need regardless of the course they choose. The biggest differences I've kind of outlined here are in PSP, students will spend some more time talking about what happens when they're reading a story. They'll spend more time talking about actual historical events, the what happened. I'm going to go bullet like one at a time. So the top bullet there is what happens in the story. The difference in Roots of Thought honors is they will spend less time talking about what happens, and they're going to talk about the significance of why it happened. So historical events, they're going to be expected to make connections between different historical time periods in honors. They're going to talk about significance of something that happened and why that matters today. It's not that PSP won't do that, but the honors students should come in ready to start doing that earlier. So they need to have a fairly solid level of comprehension to go into honors, because they're going to jump right into analysis, whereas they will ease into that more in the PSP course. And then writing assignments in PSP, often the times the teachers will give students graphic organizers, so it will help them kind of bullet their ideas, and they will have, pictures to help them organize their ideas. They also spend a lot more time in class doing writing workshops, conferencing with teachers, being able to ask a lot of questions. The honor students will be given written assignments, but those will be mostly done out of class, so more independent. It doesn't mean teachers are not available for help. By all means, they can ask for help, they can come after school, they can email. Teachers are accessible, but they won't have necessarily a 77-minute block where they can sit and actually work through their writing and ask a lot of questions about it. Okay, so that's the biggest difference with writing. And then the only other one is it's just faster paced in honors. So they might read, given a book 15 pages a night in PSP, they might be reading 25 pages if they're in an honors class. It's just going to go faster. And the level of difficulty some of the books is harder in honors. So a good example of this I could think of with American Dream, which is sophomore year. We study Steinbeck. They read Of Mice and Men in PSP. They read The Grapes of Wrath in honors. So it's the level of difficulty of the text that they're reading, and it goes faster. Okay, so those are really, you're going to see those two options for Roots of Thought. We have one other section, and it's called Roots of Thought AB. This one it's very similar, except there are additional supports built into Roots AB. We have one smaller section of that, typically 20 to 25 students. In the freshman course, we'll have that. You'll just see that, so I wanted to mention it. That meets every day, and it's by specialized placement only. Typically, that's case managers that are actually working with counselors for students who need that.
Chris, could you go back to the graphic that you started with for a second?
I will.
I just want to point out one thing. So you heard Chris say that the kids in any level are getting the skills to sort of, when the light bulb goes on, when the passion sort of gets lit up, they can sort of jump into those high-level classes. So just so you know, pretend your student is starting in Roots of Thought in the top left. The next year, they can easily go over to American Dream Honors when they're ready. Or if you're in American Dream as a sophomore, you can jump up to IB English 1 and IB History 1. So we don't put a lot of roadblocks there. When the student is ready, they can move. And I just wanted to make sure you knew that.
No, thank you for that, Bob. We actually went over last week to talk to the 8th grade teachers about recommending students for courses, and I actually got that exact question. And the example I gave is I have 2 students this year, current sophomores, who were in Roots of Thought as freshmen, the PSP level, and they are in AP US and AP Literature this year, and they are doing just fine. So they can literally, in humanities, they can jump 2 levels if they feel confident enough to do that. And some students, especially between 9th and 10th grade, if they're really busy and they're involved in band and sports and they're moving up to the high school, it's scary, right? It's just a big jump. So a lot of students will take a combination of PSP and honors classes, and then they realize they can handle that without a problem, and they challenge themselves more sophomore year. So you're definitely not locking yourself into any one pathway, regardless of where you come in. And then the other requirement that I just want to talk about is a course called In Writing. Every freshman will take a course called In Writing. It's a 1-semester course, and it is it's designed intentionally to be a smaller writing class. Because our humanities courses are team taught, there are 40, 45 students in a class. These classes for freshmen are capped at 16. So it's a much smaller group with a writing teacher. And this is where they do some really intensive analysis, analytical writing with the teacher in the room. So even those kids who are taking honors, they're going to get that writing instruction here. And a lot of times those teachers will refer to the assignments that students are doing in their roots class and help them with it. So we have 4 options for in writing. And again, the point of this, it's analytical writing. It's not creative at all. It's to set students up for success for the kind of writing they're going to have to do in their humanities courses for the next 4 years. So it really is, it's beneficial for them. But there are 4 options. 2 happen during the summer, and 2 of the options happen during the school year. Semester is traditional. It meets every other day like most classes. We're on a block like Lergio, so it's every other day. Humanities just meets every day because it's 2 courses. We just don't alternate. We do them both every day. But that is just a semester class. And I will say, because we get requests, I get requests, I should say sometimes, that I want my students to get this first semester because they really need it. We can't guarantee what semester they're going to get it. It's going to depend on the big picture of all of the courses they request and where it fits best into their schedule. So some of them will get it first semester, some of them won't have it until second semester. And then we have a semester online. This is for pretty independent students. The reason we do this is we have students who want to free up a block in their schedule. If they're in band full year, for example, or there are other courses that they want to take, or they need to manage time every day to get homework done. We'll have some students who do this, but semester online does not live in their schedule in a block. So what will happen is there will be one face-to-face meeting. Once we get the roster, the teacher who's teaching the course will send an email to all students who are enrolled in the course, as well as parents. Explain the day. They typically give 2 days for that. They give 2 options, usually 2 mornings or 1 morning, 1 afternoon. So if kids have a conflict, there's another option for them. And then the rest of the course is online throughout the semester. So students will submit all of their work online. They'll have to log in and actually give feedback to other students in the course online. The teacher is available in the building, so they can certainly go see the teacher after school or before school. But because it doesn't live in a block, it's an online course. Okay, that's called semester online. The first meeting is really the teacher helps set up the expectations of the course, how it will run, how the technology works, things like that. And then the 2 summer options, we have summer enrichment. These will happen in July. I think when we get there, Lisa's going to talk a little bit maybe about summer school. But the dates will be on the website as well. Summer enrichment course is all face-to-face. It happens over 4 weeks. I believe it's 4 weeks. And the class will meet for 4 hours in the morning. I believe it's 8 to 12 for 4 weeks, 3 days a week. It's the same curriculum. It's fast-paced. Again, a lot of students want to take this over the summer so that, number one, they have it coming into the high school, and number 2, because it, again, will free up their schedule. So they want to take it over the summer. The summer hybrid is similar to online, except instead of 1 face-to-face meeting, it's the first week of summer school will be face-to-face. So they will actually have 3 full classes with a face-to-face teacher, and then the last 3 weeks will be online. Students do have to have access to internet every day. That's one of the questions I get about that on the summer hybrid. My son or daughter is going to summer camp, so for 1 week they won't have access. You can't do that option because they do have to be online. That is designed to be a writing workshop. So even though it's online, they are interacting with the teacher and other students in the class every day. One more note, the 2 summer options, it is the same curriculum as the full semester. We need to make sure those students are being set up for success to the same level and degree as the students who are taking the full course. It just moves at a faster pace. Okay, so instead of the kids typically work through the process of 4 papers in writing. They'll do a response to literature, they'll do a research paper, So they have different types of papers. They work on one for roughly a month when it's a semester, because a semester is 4 months. In the summer, they're doing one a week. So they're doing multiple drafts of one paper in a week. But again, they're here for 4 hours, 3 days, so they're getting 12 hours in a week versus 77 minutes every other day. So it's just pretty intense, but they're getting the same curriculum. So the other department I have is film studies and production pathways. I talk about this because it's available to all students. Students can jump into film classes when they're freshmen. We have a pretty robust film program, and it's grown a lot over the years. So there's one other course in the film department called America Through Film. It's not up here because it's not really part of a pathway. These are for students, if you look at the pathway, this is for students who want to get to IB Film Studies and IB Filmmaking. The way to do that is to enroll in film critique and video production. Video production sets them up on how to make a film. Film critique is how to study the elements of a film. They can take those concurrently, and both of those courses are open to freshmen. So they can take those courses. America Through Film is another course, and it's looking at American culture and history through the eyes of film and how it's been portrayed by different directors and things, but it's not really required to get to the IB film. And I'm going to hand you off to Martha.
Hello. So my pathway isn't quite as clean because there's a lot of math options here in a lot of different ways. And for those of you that are incoming ninth grade parents, where your child starts in high school depends really on what they're doing right now at Lurgio. So while that is helpful, and you'll see that there's some dotted lines, which shows it's a possible pathway, but not a typical one. And then there's some solid lines, and then it looks like you can zigzag all over the place. You kind of can, and what we find is that students grow in both their math maturity and math interest, and then in their goals about what they want to do after high school. It's pretty hard to say to a 13 or 14-year-old, choose now what you want to do when you're 25, and we will make those classes fit. And so we want to give kids lots of different options, lots of different ways to get to where they want to go, because they'll discover their passion hopefully sometime in high school. Or I tell most kids, like, ask the adults around you. Most of us didn't know what we wanted to be when we grew up. You know, we're still kind of figuring it out. So we're trying to give kids lots of different options here. So I'm going to talk about primarily the ninth grade math courses, and I'll go back to that math again because there's lots of, again, different ways to go. So we do have some students with math disabilities that aren't ready yet to take algebra when they get to high school. So we have two courses called our foundations courses. One is Foundations of Math, and that's for students who are still working on their basic foundational math skills. And that course meets every day, not every other day. And that's a specialized placement only. So if you are an incoming ninth grade parent, the case manager at Lurgio will have already hopefully had a conversation with you about Foundations of Math or Foundations of Pre-Algebra. So Foundations of Pre-Algebra is another extension, another year of pre-algebra, again, to help kids get ready for algebra. Algebra is a graduation requirement in the state of New Hampshire. So to earn a BHS diploma, a student must pass Algebra 1. That is, you know, across the state. So part of this is to get kids to that point. So as far as algebra is concerned, again, we have two options here. Algebra AB, like the roots AB Chris talked about, is for kids who need a little bit more support. The traditional Algebra 1 for most incoming ninth graders meets every other day on that alternating block schedule. Algebra AB meets every day, so it takes up 2 blocks in a student schedule. And the reason for that is it's kind of like watering the tree from the roots. They get a little bit more time, they get a little bit more practice, rather than getting a bucket dumped on them. If every other day, they get watered every day. And have that time to grow. But again, that one is specialized placement. Algebra 1 is Algebra 1. It's the Algebra 1 like you took, like I took, except with a focus on problem solving. That gets to the idea that every student who enters at Algebra 1 can get to IB Math. You know, that would be a goal, that college, that high-level focused college preparatory math. And we start that in ninth grade with problem solving. If your student has already taken algebra, if your student took algebra, if you are a ninth grade parent and your student took algebra 1 or algebra A in 7th grade and algebra B in 8th grade, then geometry is the next place for them. And either at the PSP level or at the honors level, that's the appropriate course. How do you know? Talk to your son or daughter's current teacher. Listen to what they are recommending, because we have a lot of conversations between Legio math teachers and BHS math teachers about what the courses look like and what the curriculum is like. And so they have a good idea about where the right place for your student to go is. I'll go back to the math in a minute, but again, you're not locked into a PSP geometry means you must go this way. If your student is an 8th grader that is currently in geometry, Algebra 2 honors would be the next step for that student as a 9th grader. So there's not, unlike in humanities where 9th graders take roots of thought, 9th graders in math take whatever is appropriate for them next in their math growth. And the big difference between honors and PSP in math is honors assumes fluency. They require that fluency that you remember what's come before and you can use it again quickly. That what you've learned before comes right back to you and you can consistently apply what you've already learned in the next step in problem solving. So I'm going to go back so you can see that again. And maybe the arrows make a little bit more sense. So again, the vast majority of 9th graders come in at Algebra 1 at some level. Some come in at geometry, some come in at Algebra 2. I can talk later or answer questions later maybe about the more advanced classes. We offer IB at the SL and HL level for juniors and seniors, or sophomores, juniors, and seniors, depending on where things come in. And we also offer AP Statistics as well as AP Calculus. So there's lots of high-level math options. And then over in the purple to the left is to look forward to for those kids that would be interested. We also offer Statistics of Sports and Geometry of Art, for the different aspects of math as well as modeling of mathematics. Then science, it's a little less complicated a pathway here. The state of New Hampshire's graduation requirements are 3 credits of science. Oh, I have to backtrack, I'm sorry, on math. 3 credits of math, 1 includes algebra, but they must take a math or math-embedded class all 4 years. So your students should plan on taking a math course of some name or nature all 4 years. Personal finance, which is also a graduation requirement, counts as one of those math-embedded courses. Physics counts. Our engineering classes count. MST classes count. So there's lots of ways to get there. So back to science. 3 credits of science. 1 credit has to be physical science. 1 credit has to be life science. So we start our 9th graders, for the most part, in physical science. I say for the most part because if your student is taking either Foundations of Math or Algebra AB, that takes 2 blocks in their schedule and they don't have room to put that science class in. So we are putting in a semester Foundations of Science class to keep their hand in science, literally, to work on lab science skills, and then their sophomore year they would start in with physical science. So we have physical science, biology, and then after biology, lots of different options. The traditional pathway is physical science, biology, chemistry, physics, but there's lots of different ways you can go, because if your student is passionate about science, let's say they're passionate about chemistry, they can take 2 years worth of chemistry. They can double up with chemistry and biology. They can double up with chemistry and physics. They can take forensics because there's chemistry in that elective. So they can pick what their interests are once we get past the first 2 years of requirement. So I've already talked a little bit about these. So Foundations of Science is for students in Foundations of Pre-Algebra or Algebra AB. It's for kids who need some additional support before they take physical science. Again, that's a specialized placement. If your child is an 8th grader, the team will have already talked to you about that placement. Physical Science AB meets every day. So again, students who need twice as much time to take science, to learn those physical science concepts. It's, again, specialized placement. The difference in physical science and physical science honors is similar to what Chris talked about with roots of thought and roots of thought honors. It's more independent work. We assume more fluent algebraic skills. They don't have to be advanced in math. Algebra is plenty in order to take physical science honors, but they need to be comfortable with using algebra. And then more applying what they're learning to new phenomena they haven't seen before. After physical science comes biology, and then after that comes electives either in place of or concurrent with chemistry, depending. Then, so Bob introduced me as the Dean of STEM, so the science, the math, but then we also have engineering, computer science, and technology type classes. So our computer science program here is new and growing rapidly. This will be next year will be year 3 of having a full-time dedicated computer science program, and we keep adding classes to it. So Intro to Programming is open to all students as long as they are currently taking or have already taken Algebra 1. It's a semester class. You know, if your student is thinking, that might be something I want to do with my life, here's a great opportunity to explore that. AP Computer Science Principles doesn't have to wait till senior year. It's a full course. It's a year-long course, so most freshmen can't fit that into their schedules, but it's available early on as an AP class. Web Design is a new course we're piloting this year. Added that one on. AP Computer Science A is the more intense programming course. That's for some kids who've had some experience with computer science. And then another new interdisciplinary course that's being offered this year is 21st Century Communication, co-taught between a computer science teacher and an English teacher about communication through the web. We also have a pretty robust engineering program with a couple of different pathways. We have an amazing FIRST robotics team, if your students are interested in going that way, but we also have a robotics class. So we recommend that if you have a student that's thinking about engineering in any way, have them take CAD, Engineering Design in 3D. They get a chance to design something on the computer, 3D print it, make modifications to it, see what works, problem solve with it, and do it again. And from there, they can go to engineering design and then into materials processing or over to robotics, depending on what they're interested in. These courses are wonderful hands-on opportunities for kids to apply that problem solving that is so important to us here. And a lot of students don't realize until they get to senior year, like, oh, I could have taken a robotics class, or I could have taken an engineering design class. So we want to make sure you are aware of that. And then I put architectural design up there. It's not any part of a specific pathway, but that's also another semester offering. And then these are all available, other than the IB class, all available to 9th graders. Then we also have business classes. Personal finance is a graduation requirement. Students generally take that their junior year. There's only 2 classes that are open to 9th graders, and that's Intro to Business and Accounting. Those are both semester classes. Intro to Business is lots of presenting and group project type things. So if your student doesn't like those kinds of things, that's probably not a good elective for them. But if they're thinking at all about business, these are great opportunities for them. And then after they've had the intro courses, they can move into marketing or business management, entrepreneurship, all the other ones you see up there. And that's the end of mine.
Thank you, Martha. Hi, folks. I'm Casey Roop, Assistant Principal and Dean of World Languages. Thanks for coming out tonight. It's nice to see this so well attended. So as you can see, the world languages pathways are a little bit more straightforward, fewer deviations in the path. So you can see they all go sequentially from 1 to 4 up to 5, and you can get into IB in a few of our courses. We offer 4 languages. We offer American Sign Language, French, Latin, and Spanish. I know that some of our incoming 9th graders will be starting with French, Latin, or Spanish. You can start at level 2 because you were able to complete that at the middle school. But you do have the option, if you don't want to continue with the language that you're coming in with, you can start at level 1 with any of the languages. So you have some options in that regard. Now you'll see with French and Spanish that we do have a slight deviation because after you complete level 3 in any of those courses, you can see that you can go into an IB pathway if you were interested in pursuing that, or you can go into some non-IB advanced studies in Spanish or French. Those courses are French literature and conversation, and culture and conversation. The same thing with Spanish. Literature and conversation, culture and conversation. So it focuses a little bit more on the use of the language, learning of the culture, a little bit more conversational, historical, focus more on the cultural end. Or you can pursue the higher academics and you can go down the IB pathway as well. As you can see, mine is a little bit more simple than the rest. So I'm going to pass off to Mr. Jazokis. Thank you.
I'll just take the clicker. Thank you. All right, program of study stuff. We have a new version of the program of studies. In the old days, we used to give out books, right? And books were good for some reasons because you could page through them and go back and forth. And then we had an online sort of digital version of the program of studies. And it got a little harder to sort of page through it and look at stuff. So we recreated the program of studies. And there's two things I want to talk about and I'm going to show you. The first one is at the top, there's these tabs. They're very helpful. We put some important stuff there that has to do with the program of study. So those tabs you should look at. I'm going to show you a couple of them in a moment. And then there's also some filters we have. So there's a drop-down menu. You can filter by subject, interest areas. I'll show you that. You can do your own search, and then there's some common searches. But this is new to everybody, and so I just want to show you what it looks like a little bit. All right. Look at my link is there. And then when I go to get it, it goes away real fast. Let's see if I can get to it. Yeah, there it is. Nope. I'm going to get there by cheating a little bit. So here it is on the main menu. Program studies. One moment. All right, at the top, program studies, that's the page we're on. This is important particularly for ninth grade folks. It's all those same pathways that you just saw, so they're there again. This one again, particularly for ninth grade parents. Down in here, these are what we used to hand out as old sheets, paper sheets, but you should look at them because they're a quick lookup of what you need to get done. And so this ninth grade one, that top third of the page are the things you have to get into a schedule, and it gives you the options that everyone just talked about. So you can see the roots of thought options on the left, the in-writing options on the left, and then the elective choices to fill a schedule that are down at the bottom. So each grade level has those there, and then there's a planning worksheet that you can fill in if you'd like to. All right, let me get back where I was. There's information about course levels. We updated this year. It's a little more accurate than what had been there. It reflects truly what we're up to. There's graduation requirements. You can see those in several places. But they're all there in case you want to see what you need to get done over 4 years. And then there's some college and career information. Talks about 2-year colleges, 4-year colleges, some career information, military information, and New Hampshire scholars, which we get some questions about, so this is a good place to put it. All right? So look at those tabs at the top. To the right here, there's some icons. Those are common questions we get about courses. You're going to see those on the courses themselves. And then here you can search by subject. Here you can search by interest in case you have certain interest in the student's future. There's common searches. For all means they're open to all students. It says freshman, sophomore, junior, senior. It just means those courses are designed for those folks. The new courses are listed, and then you can see full-year courses and semester courses. So it's very searchable, and if you're familiar with our intercession, if you're a parent of a student who's currently here, it looks a lot like intercession does. So the name of the course talks about which department, any prereqs, the credit, half credit, full year credit, and then a little description. So hopefully it's going to be a little more usable for you guys. Just want to show you how that works. You're going to want to use that as you start looking at coursework. All right. Let's see if I can get this here. All right, Lisa, you ready to roll?
So now we get to the fun part, the actual completing the course registration for your students. So what you're going to be able to do on your PowerSchool account, you'll be able to see this starting tomorrow morning. The course registration will be linked on that sidebar for you. When you log in, you can click on that and start completing registration. So I'm actually going to walk you through an actual registration for a student so you can see what that looks like.
You don't have to memorize this. I'm going to share this out in a screencast that Lisa's done, so you'll get that on Friday.
Okay, so once you click on that course registration on the sidebar, you're going to see that each class has their own sort of intro. So this is what you're going to see for a current 8th grade student who's looking to register for their 9th grade classes. At the top, we just give you some helpful tips as you're thinking about credits and what to do next. So that's going to be there, so definitely take a look at that. And it's different for each grade, so each of you will have your own intro for your student. Students can do this through their login as well as the parent login. As you scroll down at the very top, you'll see that these are required courses for freshmen, Advisory, Wellness 1. These are courses that all freshmen have to take. So right away, you already see this checkbox over here with the green check. That means you don't have to do anything with those courses. They're in there for you. Then as you scroll down, you're going to have your humanities choice. Ms. O'Hara went through all the choices with you for that course. So you click on the pencil, and it gives you your options for that course. You can see over here on the right, it's going to let you know whether it's a prerequisite for the course. This is a freshman course, so there isn't one. And as you scroll over, you can also see the recommendation. So for this student, was recommended for Roots of Thought PSP. So they can just go right over. And we're going to click on the course that's recommended. We do talk to the students as well and encourage them to follow those teacher recommendations because it's really shown success for students when they do that. So Mrs. Zokas' computer navigates a little bit differently than mine. So how do I get this window to move? Sorry. Is it over in the corner? Okay. Oh, okay. So once you click there and then you hit OK. I found it. Thank you. And then I'm going to scroll back. And then you can see, I had 2 clicks. I'm going to go back in there. But the Roots of Thought with the roadmap, that shows the student, the parent, and their counselor, if they're looking at it with their counselor, that the student chose to follow the teacher recommendation. So you can read that there. So we need to go back and just fix that. I'll take this click off and go back. All right, there we go. So there's the Roots of Thought. For the in writing, again, you have the choices. Every student takes in writing, but they have the option of the online course, the hybrid, and the summer options. And all those descriptions are listed there. In most instances, it's the best option to do that in class for students. We're going to go ahead and click that choice. And then scroll down. Okay. All right. And then we do this for each subject. So as you go through, you're going to be able to click on the pencil for math, choose the math course, see the teacher recommendation, choose the science course, see the recommendation. You will see that within that recommendation, you do not have to go by what's recommended by the teacher. It doesn't lock you in. We do strongly recommend it, but if as a family you've chosen to go with what your student wants, or they want to try something, or they really feel like they've matured over the course of the year and they're going to do that, they can select that. There's no limitations on that. It is a family decision in the end. So we'll do that there. And as you scroll down, you then get to any support classes they might need to register for and electives. So here's the tricky part, and this is important for all. I want to mention, even though this opportunity to choose your classes opens tomorrow morning, you have 2 full weekends. So it opens tomorrow, so you have this full weekend coming up. You have the entire week of school next week, and then a full weekend to Monday. There is no benefit, and you will not get courses. Students do not get courses based on when they submit this. Okay? We do not even pull the courses that are selected until after everything is done. So take your time.
You can go in this weekend, you can complete this, then you can have a meeting with a teacher, or your student might meet with their counselor and change their mind, talk to you, you change your mind, you can go back in, you can change it. There's no rush. Please take your time, ask questions, get everything you need, and change it. Also, it goes by seniority, so when we do pull out all the course requests, seniors, might be waiting 4 years to get that elective they really wanted, so they get their courses first, then juniors, then sophomores, then freshmen. So we met with the freshmen, the incoming ninth graders last week, and we really showed them and tried to explain to them that give us extra choices, that they may not get their first choice elective this time around, but they'll have 4 years to get there. They don't have a lot of room with their required classes, so when they choose electives, if they want to have a managed time and they're taking a foreign language, which falls into that elective category, they really only have one other half semester block to choose a class. So let's use photography here. And again, I recommend taking a look at that program of studies, figuring out what you want to take before coming here and choosing, because as you can see, there's 9 pages of choices. So just having an idea of what you want ahead of time is going to help you. They're in alphabetical order, so you can kind of scroll through. If you know they want to take video production, you're likely going to be in one of these last few pages for that. So they're all listed here. So same thing, you choose the ones you want, and you choose more than one if they're going to take more than one. But for this instance, we're going to just do one here. And again. And then the next box that they complete after that. And on your screen, you don't have to really scroll. It usually fits on the whole screen, so you don't have to do much of that. But the next piece is the alternate. So again, especially if you have an underclassman, making sure that they have alternates. This helps the counselors when they get to look at schedules and they're trying to maneuver things to get students what they want. Those alternates give them options to get students into classes, and it also helps with the build. We're looking at classes to see what the second choices were for a lot of students. So they are required to choose 3 alternates. You won't be able to submit a course request without those 3 alternates. So they have to choose them. So just be talking to them. Again, especially if underclassmen, those become really important. So I'm just going to...
Sometimes we're not too bright, but we're bright enough to catch this. Don't put the electives and the alternates the same. Some students try to outwit us with that, but don't do it that way. Actually choose alternates.
Yeah. They do, because then if they do that, we don't have there's no help for us when we're trying to build those schedules for them and get them things that they might actually like to have. So it's really important. So there's those 3 electives. As you scroll down, you're going to see a running total at the bottom. For 9th grade students, they need to select between 6 and 8.1 credits. The 0.1 is advisory. And then right now I've requested 5, so it won't let me submit. I have to be within that window. So, but once you have all of those done, you can hit submit. And different grades have different amounts of credits. So what you will see if you have an upperclassman is you might only have to select 4 credits because a lot of seniors have already met a lot of their graduation requirements. Again, this is really important family discussion as you get up to those years where you've got a lot of credits, is that this is their last year to take classes for free. Please have them take advantage. When they look at that program of studies and you see the light, when you go to the 8th grade and you see them look at the program of studies and they're so excited to take all those classes, and then they have to wait year to year, and then by senior year they're like, when can I leave? How early can I get out, or how late can I come in? But this is really their opportunity to have that last year to prep for whatever career they want, whether they're going to MST, which does require them to be here early, or they're taking classes in psychology. That senior year is the year to really take classes that you don't have to pay for the last time. So definitely take the time to talk to your students and select a full course even for senior year.
Yoki. All right, this is the last slide. We're just going to remind you of some important things. Use the program of studies. I showed you where it was, but it is very helpful because there's a lot of courses and there's a lot to think about, so please use that. Everyone should register. Sometimes folks might not think they're coming here, but it's best to register in case you end up changing plans, and it's easier to give your son or daughter a schedule if they went through the process than try to make one after the fact. And after all of you have it, it's harder to make a schedule for students. So if you're thinking of not coming to BHS, still go through this process. Selections can be changed between those dates. Lisa mentioned that. That's really important to remember. You can go in again, you can have a conversation, you can go in again and keep changing them. We use your final selection to actually build a schedule, so we don't even look at what you were doing in there. Advisors, students' advisors, if you're a current BHS student, will sit down and talk to the students on those 2 dates prior to things wrapping up. The deadline is February 3rd at the end of the school day. That's when that little portal will close. The selection process does not guarantee a schedule. It just informs us, so we can't, just by virtue of how many teachers we have, how long the school day is, there are constraints, and so we try to meet every student's requests. And what is when we build a schedule, is it about 92% of the requests we can fulfill. That's historical, so we can't always do everything. Seniority does dictate how we do it. So seniors do get first choice because they're leaving, and they're the ones that we have to make sure are getting those graduation requirements in. The electives, they do get first dibs. There's going to be 4 days in June if your schedule comes out, and those alternative electives, your son or daughter is just like, no way, why do they put those? There's still 4 days that you can come in June, and we can adjust schedules. And then there's going to be a navigation video that Lisa made. I'm going to put that in my Friday email. Just have a look at that. It's going to just walk you through what we just walked you through in case you forget. And then 2 things you need to know. There's going to be 2 different nights. This is just about course selection. And I saw a lot of hands go up of parents of 8th graders coming to 9th grade. So there's 2 nights with more information. There's going to be a night for parents of students with special ed IEP, just about IEPs and what we do here at the high school. That's on April 8th. And then the second one is an orientation 8th grade parent information night, and then we're going to walk you through managed time and I don't know how our lunches work, just everything. It's going to be an orientation for you, and that happens on May 7th. So I just want you to know that we haven't forgotten that you're going to have a lot more questions, and we're going to try to answer those on those nights.